Hey, so I wanted to do a video and talk about the difference between a job versus working for yourself, working your own business. And I've had the opportunity to do both over the years. I've had a lot of different jobs when I was younger, and I've had the opportunity a couple of different times to be more self-employed, and I've had to go back and forth a handful of times. So I want to just kind of talk about the pros and cons of being self-employed or of working your own business, because I think a lot of people have this vision or this idea that it's so glamorous and man, if I could only work for myself and run my own business, then life would be so much better and so much easier. And I'm here to tell you that that's half true. Like, there are parts of it that I like and things that I enjoy, but there's a lot of challenges that come with it as well, especially while you're growing and trying to figure things out. So I jotted down a top 5 list of my top 5 pros and my top 5 cons of being self-employed. These are in no particular order. These are just some ideas that I had. So I'm going to start with the pros list. First of all, you get to set your own schedule. Now, this is kind of a half-truth because you don't necessarily always get to work whenever you want. It depends on the type of business that you do, and you have to cater to customers. So you do have to work within the customer's schedule at times, and that means that you're not actually able to work whenever you want necessarily. There are some businesses that are different where you really do have complete and total freedom of time, but any business that you deal with customers, there are still some limitations there. That said, it is definitely a pro that you get to have greater control over your schedule and your time. The second one on the list is that you don't report to somebody else, which means you're the boss. You get to decide how things run in your business. That actually leads me right into number 3, which is the fact that you get to make all the rules. You get to determine, when you're taking time off. You get to determine, even during the day, when you're taking a lunch break, how long it's going to be, whether or not you're going to spend part of the day watching TV or or going to see a movie, or if you're going to go out on a road trip for part of the day or whatever. Like, you get to make those rules because you're the boss. Number 4 is that generally working for yourself, being self-employed, running your own business, you have a greater opportunity to have more success and make more money. Now, this depends, again, on what you're doing. I think a lot of businesses still have some limitations. Like, if you're just a local-based business, there's only so much you can do. There's only so many customers you can serve, versus if you run a business online and can work with people across the country or across the world, then your opportunities are going to be much greater in a situation like that. Generally speaking, though, you're not limited by the paycheck that your employer decides to give you. The last one that I came up with is, as a business owner or being self-employed, you have a lot more tax deduction opportunities. This is where I would say you definitely want to have a good accountant that's helping you with that. But there are tax benefits to being self-employed that you don't have as an employee. Now, for the cons list, there are some downsides to working your own business, being self-employed. Number 1, and I would definitely say this is the number 1 top of this list, and that is that you're always working. Like anybody who runs a business, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You never stop working, especially if you have a home office. You never stop working. You're always thinking about it, or you're doing something in that direction. So that, I would say, is a con. And I mean, on the flip side, you could say that's not all that bad, because I mean, in my case, I kind of enjoy a lot of the work that I do. And so it's not work as much. Like, it's more fun and it's more rewarding, I guess. But it's a true fact, and you can ask my wife. She will tell you I spend a lot of time working on this thing or that thing, and it's the nature of being self-employed. The second con that I have on my list is that you don't always have a consistent income. You're always working, but you're actually making less money. So it's the reality of being self-employed, is your hourly rate, or the wage that you make. If you were to compare your hourly rate with somebody who works at, just about any job, even people making minimum wage might actually beat you on hourly rate sometimes. because you don't always have a consistent income. And sometimes, again, depending on the business, you may have dry times of the year where you have the slow seasons of the year and you have the good seasons of the year, and hopefully that balances out for you. But it is a con. It's something that can be challenging, and this leads to number 3 on the cons list, which is you deal with a lot more stress and worry and concern about paying the bills, about staying on top of everything. That's when you have to get good with budgeting, because if you don't budget well, then when you hit those slow times, you may not have the funds you need to take care of all of the bills. And so it's really important to get good at budgeting and learn how to manage your money inside of your business as well as your personal finances, because you need to be able to survive the good times as well as the bad. Number 4 on the list is you've also got to get really good at time management. Now, I mentioned before that you have freedom of time as a business owner, and that's a pro on the list. But on the flip side, if you're not good with your time management, it is really, really easy to waste a lot of time. So you have to get good at being productive with your time and learning how to set limitations. Sometimes I will watch, a show online, on Netflix or whatever. That's all fine to do that once in a while. Take your mind off of work a little bit and take a little break. But, you've got to get good at calling that your lunch break. You can't just sit and watch TV all day. And I guess there are some people in some types of jobs that, you are able to do a lot more. You're able to spend a lot more free time during the day. But ultimately, if you want to be successful, it is important that you are managing your time and making sure that you're being productive during the day. If you don't manage your time well, then maybe working a job is better suited to you. The last one on my list, I actually work from home. And that means that I have a lot of other responsibilities around the house. So my wife actually works outside of the home. So we both work, but because she's not here, I'm the one that gets hit with the responsibilities of chauffeuring people around, of making sure that my kids, especially during the summertime while they're at home, that they're helping to keep the house picked up and that they're being productive as well, because I don't want my kids just to spend all summer long watching TV all day. So I have that responsibility along with my job, along with the work that I'm doing. I've got to kind of maintain and keep tabs on everything else. And so that would be another con on my list. If you work for yourself, but you work out of an actual office, that may not be a problem for you. But as somebody who works remotely, works from home, that's something that I deal with as well. Anyway, this was just kind of a quick list of my pros and cons of being self-employed. Ultimately, for me, I really like this. It's something that suits me well. I've worked for other people a number of different times, and I've had a couple of pretty good jobs over the years, and they were difficult for me. Like, I had a hard time conforming to that type of a lifestyle, and I really, really tried hard over the years to get out of that, to be able to have the greater control that I have. On the flip side, there are days when, I'm not going to lie to you, when I'm like, maybe I should just give all this up and go get a real job, But I think it comes down to really the idea that people who are self-employed, people who run their own business, have at least a little bit of crazy in them. You have to be a little bit nuts to do this, I think. You have to be a little bit, not normal, because of all of the sacrifices that you make to build and grow a business. Well, the sacrifices and the risk. You are taking risk. You're risking your own financial future. You're risking your family's financial future. It's something that not everybody can do, and I totally get that. So I think you do have to be a little bit crazy to do this. But when you talk about the reward versus the risk, the reward is so much greater at the end if you can pull it off. And that's, I think, why people are so drawn to being self-employed and running their own business, is because you see that potential, that opportunity way off in the distance of what you can achieve if you put your heart and soul into it and work hard and do what you need to do and figure it all out. And of course, I think have a little bit of luck along the way. Luck never hurts at all. So it's not for everybody, but for the people who are willing to put forth that effort, to sacrifice and to really go after it, I think it can be a very rewarding way to live a life. So there are my thoughts on self-employment versus job. And that's it for today. Bye.